A doctor from Hyderabad tried to poison thousands of Indians using one of the deadliest toxins known to mankind. He was not caught secretly planning this in some hidden place. He was stopped in the middle of his operation, carrying weapons, chemicals, and a year-long plan for mass murder in three big Indian cities. And here's the scary part. He was not acting alone. Behind him was a full international terror network, with handlers in Afghanistan, weapon suppliers in Pakistan, and drones already flying over our borders to deliver weapons. So, how did an educated doctor turn into a terrorist? How did this plan stay hidden for a whole year? And what does this tell us about the Pakistan backed terror network that is still targeting India? Stay with me, because this story changes the way we understand the threat our country is facing today. You need to understand who we are talking about here. Dr. Ahmed Syed was 35 years old, well educated and highly qualified. He had an MBBS degree from China and, on paper, looked like any other doctor. But investigators describe him as highly educated and radicalized. That's what makes this story so disturbing. This wasn't an uneducated man influenced in a madrasa. This was someone trained to save lives, who used his medical knowledge to create weapons instead. In recent years, terror groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda have started targeting educated professionals. They use online debates, encrypted apps, and distorted religious teachings to influence people who already have strong intellectual backgrounds. Doctors, engineers, and researchers are seen as valuable recruits. They bring skills, resources, and respectability to extremist missions. Dr. Ahmed lived in Rajendra Nagar, Hyderabad. By November 2025, he had become the mastermind behind a plan to poison thousands of Indians using ricin, one of the deadliest toxins known to mankind. But Dr. Syed didn't work alone. In Shamli district, Uttar Pradesh, there was Azad Suleiman Sheikh, just 20 years old, a tailor by profession, but someone the interrogation reports describe as harboring extremist ideology with religious education. Sheikh's job was weapons logistics. He was responsible for receiving guns from across the Pakistan border and getting them to Dr. Syed. Then there was Muhammad Suhail Salim Khan, 23 years old, a student from Lakhimpur Kheri in Uttar Pradesh. Khan did reconnaissance. He traveled to Delhi, to Lucknow, to Ahmedabad with Sheikh, photographing markets, temples, and water supply points. These were not random visits. These were surveillance operations for murder planning. Now, here is where it gets darker. Above these three men was someone named Abu Khadija. He was not in India. He was based in Afghanistan, operating as a handler for something called the Islamic State Khorasan Province, ISKP for short. Abu Khadija was giving orders to Dr. Syed through encrypted channels. This wasn't an Indian problem anymore. This was an international terror network actively targeting Indian citizens, coordinated from Afghan territory, supplied with weapons from Pakistan. Think about that for a moment. A doctor in Hyderabad was taking orders from an Afghan-based handler to execute a plan supplied by Pakistani weapons networks. This is the new face of terror in India. But wait, if this plot was so coordinated, with foreign handlers and weapons coming from across the border, how did it even come to light? The answer shows just how close India came to a major disaster. The Gujarat Anti-Terrorism Squad, or ATS, got secret intelligence that Dr. Syed had reached Ahmedabad for a terror mission. From that moment, the operation began. For one full year, ATS officers kept him under watch. They didn't rush. They built a case piece by piece, following his movements, noting who he met, and monitoring his online communication. For months, undercover agents quietly tracked hotel bookings, travel routes, and suspicious money transfers. They worked with intelligence teams from Telangana, Delhi, and Maharashtra, sharing every small clue. The coordination was massive. Multiple state agencies working together, staying silent until the right time. During this period, Dr. Syed and his two aides carried out reconnaissance in three major cities. They studied Azadpur Mandi in Delhi, one of India's busiest markets with up to 1 lakh people visiting daily. They inspected Naroda market in Ahmedabad, local temples, crowded food bazaars, and even water supply systems. Every place was photographed, documented, and timed. They were planning exactly where, when, and how to strike. Then, on November 7th and 8th, 2025, the ATS made their move. Near Adalaj Toll Plaza on the Ahmedabad-Mehsana highway, they intercepted a silver Ford Figo carrying Dr. Syed, Sheikh, and Khan. The timing was critical. This was not a routine arrest. The three men were intercepted during an active operation. They were actually in the process of receiving weapons. When the ATS searched them, they found something that will keep security experts awake at night. 2 Glock pistols, 1 Beretta pistol, 30 live cartridges, 4 liters of castor oil in a plastic container, 3 mobile phones, and 2 laptops. That castor oil was not just any ingredient, it was the raw material for ricin production. Now, you need to understand what ricin really is, because when most people hear the word poison, they think of something like cyanide, something that kills instantly. But ricin works differently. Ricin is a lectin, a kind of protein that comes from castor seeds, the same seeds used to make castor oil. Just a tiny amount can kill a person. It's so dangerous that international law classifies it as a Schedule 1 substance under the Chemical Weapons Convention, the highest danger level, reserved for chemicals with no safe or legal civilian use. The CDC also lists it as a Category B biological weapon, meaning it's extremely toxic and could be used in terror attacks. Ricin first gained worldwide attention during the Cold War. In 1978, a Bulgarian journalist named Georgy Markov was assassinated in London using a ricin-tipped umbrella, a real-life spy murder that shocked the world. Since then, ricin has appeared in several terror plots across the US and Europe, because it's cheap, deadly, and almost impossible to trace. When ricin enters the body, it attacks from the inside. It slips into the cells and stops them from making proteins, the building blocks of life. Without proteins, cells die. And when cells die, the organs begin to fail one by one. There is no antidote. Doctors can only try to keep the person alive while the body slowly shuts down. What makes ricin so chilling is how little it takes to kill. Just 1 milligram, the size of a grain of salt, can end an adult's life if swallowed. The symptoms come fast and brutal: vomiting, bloody diarrhea, tearing of the stomach lining. Within a few days, the liver, kidneys, and spleen fail. Death follows soon after. Ricin does not just kill, it shuts life itself down, one cell at a time. But here is what makes this even more sinister. Ricin can be produced at home. You don't need a military laboratory or specialized equipment. You need castor seeds, which grow wild in India and across the tropical world. You need moderate chemistry knowledge, which a medical doctor like Dr. Syed obviously has. The extraction process takes multiple days. I won't describe those steps here. It's unsafe and inappropriate to explain. The real challenge is not making it. The real challenge is weaponizing it, turning it into particles small enough to float through air, creating a powder that won't clump together, storing it so it doesn't lose potency. But Dr. Syed had a medical background. He understood chemistry, biology, and human anatomy. He would have known exactly how to do this. Now, I want you to understand why Dr. Syed and his accomplices specifically chose ricin. They could have used other weapons. They could have used explosives. They could have used other biological agents. But here's the intelligence analysis that security experts are highlighting. Because ricin can be extracted from industrial waste products of castor oil manufacturing. Because ricin can be weaponized in multiple forms: powder, mist, pellets, or dissolved in water. Because there is no specific antidote. Because a few grams can kill hundreds. Because castor oil is a commercial product that arouses no suspicion when purchased. Because ricin loses effectiveness above 70 degrees Celsius, meaning attackers can store it with certain precautions and transport it across borders. And most importantly, because it's a weapon that can be deployed against civilian populations without any warning or detection until symptoms start appearing hours later. All that makes ricin a chillingly practical weapon. But weapon alone doesn't tell the whole story. The real strategy becomes clear when you examine why the plotters selected Delhi, Lucknow, and Ahmedabad as their targets. Delhi is India's political and administrative heart. An attack on Delhi, ricin poisoning major food markets in the capital, would send shockwaves across the entire nation. Azadpur Mandi alone handles the food supply for millions of Delhiites. Contaminating it would not just kill thousands directly, it would trigger mass panic about food safety across India. Lucknow was targeted specifically because the reconnaissance team surveyed the RSS office. This was not random. The RSS is a cultural organization with deep ideological connections. Targeting it would create massive communal tensions. Lucknow is also in the heartland of India, in Uttar Pradesh, a state that is politically significant. Ahmedabad was the operational base. This is where Gujarat's economic power is concentrated. Attacking Ahmedabad would strike at India's commercial and industrial capacity. And the targets within these cities weren't random either. The reconnaissance team specifically surveyed crowded food markets, temples where food was prepared and distributed, water supply infrastructure. These are soft targets, places with minimal security, massive civilian concentrations, and maximum psychological impact. Now comes the big question: who was really behind all this? The trail leads straight to Pakistan's intelligence network. When investigators traced the weapon supply chain and studied how the drones and deliveries were coordinated, one thing became clear. This was not the work of random criminals. It was organized, funded, and trained. It was state-backed terrorism. Reports suggest that Pakistan's paramilitary wing, the Rangers, provided support from across the border. Meanwhile, Pakistan's spy agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI, has reportedly built 6 drone centers along the border, used to smuggle weapons and explosives into India. This shows not just individual involvement, but institutional planning. Over the years, many intelligence reports, including findings shared with the UN and FATF, have highlighted how Pakistan uses proxy networks to create instability in India. By using non-state actors, Pakistan maintains what analysts call plausible deniability, the ability to deny direct responsibility while still running the operation. The pattern is old, but the method is modern. Drones have simply replaced couriers. This is not a rogue mission. This is the Pakistan government actively arming terror networks to attack Indian civilians. Now, how did India respond? The Gujarat ATS arrest of these 3 individuals demonstrates India's counter-terrorism capability. But what's more important is what happens next. The investigation is ongoing. Dr. Syed remains in ATS custody, undergoing interrogation until November 17, 2025. Investigators are probing his connections to Abu Khadija, his funding sources, his recruitment history, and whether there are other operatives he has been in contact with. The interrogation of Sheikh and Khan is continuing to map out the entire network. But the investigation has already moved beyond these 3 individuals. The National Investigation Agency, the NIA, India's federal counter-terrorism agency, has been brought in. Central agencies are coordinating across multiple states. The investigation has expanded to Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and even Kashmir, based on the accused's documented movements. But beyond arrest and interrogations lies a deeper the question of radicalization. What about the networks inside India that are recruiting people like Dr. Syed? A qualified medical professional does not just suddenly become a terrorist overnight. He's been radicalized. He's been recruited. He's been given ideological justification for his actions. Somewhere, someone or some organization was working to convince him that murdering thousands of innocent Indians was a justified action. Today, radicalization does not just happen in secret meetings, it happens online. Encrypted apps, private chat groups, and even charity organizations are being used to spread extremist messages. Recruiters mix religion with politics, twist scriptures, and use emotional triggers like injustice or identity to pull people in. That's why fighting terrorism is not only about catching the attackers, it's also about stopping the mindset before it forms. This case reminds us that the fight against terrorism is not always on battlefields. It's also in classrooms, hospitals, offices, and even in the minds of people we never suspect. It's a fight of ideas, awareness, and vigilance. So, what do you think after hearing this? Does it make you proud that our agencies stopped such a massive attack before it happened? Or does it make you concerned that someone educated, someone trusted to save lives, could plan mass murder? Share what you think in the comments. And if this video gave you new insights, don't forget to subscribe. It really motivates me to create even more for you. Jai Hind.